Welcome to part 3 of 3 parts in this special recording for my friends from Botswana, as well as from around the world. Thank you all for showing up for part 3. If you came to the first 2 parts and you finished part 3, you're bound to get a certificate, not from me, but from somebody who'll give you a certificate. Again, thank you for showing up, and maybe we'll throw the ball back and forth to remember which activities you liked from part 2. And we'll share it with the next person and share it back. Nah, we won't do that. Too bad. Or maybe we can wear fancy hats and do some role play. Nah, we won't do that. Maybe we can have some lightsabers and save planet Earth from aliens. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll go on a Star Trek mission for a secret method called the R2d2 method, also known as read, reflect, display, and do. And pop up. I got a book related to that R2D2 method. So hang on. We've got lots of things to go through. Oh, we got another lightsaber. We kind of have a battle going on right here back and forth with my fake lightsaber and my real lightsaber. Which one do you want? We're going to have, I think this one lights up, in fact. Yeah, there it goes. You hear that? Pretty scary. This one probably lights up too if I could figure it out. But anyways, we do have these lightsabers coming to help us with part 3. Part 3 gets us into the model called R2D2 with the book Empowering Online Learning. You can be empowered. The power of the empire. Let's share my screen. Okay, let's see if we can find it even. Here it is. There we go. And now we've got it. The R2D2 method. Read, reflect, display, and do. It's a problem-solving wheel. You can start with reading, then reflecting, then displaying, then doing. There are 25 activities in each quadrant within the book, or 100 total with a variation. So there are actually 200 ideas again for this one, but this book, unfortunately, is not free. But if you write to me, I'll send you a chapter that's got a summary in effect. So the R2D2 model is really a problem-solving wheel. We start with reading, then reflecting, displaying, then doing, or we can go the opposite way, start with doing and then displaying. Anyways, I'll walk you through all of that. My friend Curt Bonk, Dr. Curt Bonk, and I wrote the book a few years ago. I think it was actually 2008 it came out, so 12 years ago. We were working together on this project, and she said, that spells R2D2. And I said, you're right. She said, let's do a book on it. And so we did. First, we wrote an article and then a book. We're entering Star Wars territory here. So the first part of the R2D2 model relates to auditory learning and verbal learning and so forth. So spoken words, written expressions, preferred words. So if we get at words, where do we have words?
Computer, this is Captain Picard. Return all command functions to...
Quiet, Captain Picard. We have words in stories. There's a free website tool called Storyline Online. And that enables celebrities, actors and actresses to read books to little children. So if you teach young children, you might want to take a look at storyline.org, a free literacy platform where kids can listen to stories. There's another free tool like this called Bookshare. Bookshare is a free book website as well. Actors and actresses read these books to kids. Fun. Another free website for maybe a little bit older kids in high school or junior high school, middle school, is this website that's for science journal for kids. Open access journals for kids at sciencejournalsforkids.org or Kids Frontiers or sciencejournalsforkids.org. About us, take a look at that. And you get all sorts of free science-related articles. There are lots of articles, 950 authors, 1,900 reviewers. So, and again, some free resource designed for a younger age group. You could also have students listen to podcasts that are free online that might explain COVID or some other medical issue or some other topic altogether. So listening to podcasts, going to open access journals, getting free stories. These are all words. Listen to podcast shows about women in science or about climate change, all words. So part one of R2D2 is reading words or listening to words. So you might hear from Sir Ken Robinson, who has the most famous TED Talk. He had a podcast a couple months before he passed away. He died earlier this year. And so I listened to this podcast from Sir Ken. You might get words from blogging tools and read words of my friend Punya Mishra blogging on the value of schools and what value they have. You might blog, I blog. You might go to Twitter and go to, the Twitter feed of somebody or an organization that might have a Twitter feed or discussions. You might have your class discuss issues posted within a Twitter feed. So Twitter, blogs, podcasts, journals, and stories. These are all tools for words online.
I don't. Look, this isn't a Romulan labor camp. I don't have to answer you. I don't trust you, Q.
We've got, so part one.
Look, this isn't a Romulan. I don't trust you, Q.
Right? Keeping you awake by going back and forth. Stop. My brain is hurting. It's going too fast. Part two. We had part one. Part two is reflect and observe. Reflect, observe, view, watch. So you might reflect on things. Have your students reflect on a video or on an infographic, or reflect on the podcast, or reflect on a picture that's posted. Reflections part two of the R2D2 model. You might reflect by having big questions that they pose. You have your students post macro questions, big issue questions. There actually is a website called Big Issues Online, where huge questions are posed and their students are forced to reflect on them. Okay, what are the challenges of conservation of the forests in 2020? What are the ramifications of all the fires in the Amazon or the fires in California to the forests of the world? What types of forests in Bangladesh exist, and what are the concerns and issues related to preservation of those forests? Well, big questions or big issues online. Have your students think about, you see, every week in my discussion forums, they think about the big issues. One student signs up to be the person who posts big issues, and then everyone else has to respond. Or you might have video discussions via logs. You discuss the videos that are watched. You annotate the videos that you watch. Have interesting discussions of videos. So you don't just watch the video, but you discuss them. You don't just watch the video, you annotate or comment on them. So it's not just talking heads. Not just talking heads. You actually have meaningful conversations about the content in those talking heads. You have some infographics that you might post related to car emissions or the rainforests in Peru or the Amazon, right? And then talk about how much rainforest is in a chocolate bar that you eat, because the chocolate bars come from the chocolate in the rainforest. Talking about issues that are embedded in the data. So some data is put up here about pollution in the atmosphere, and you might have a certain number that what percent and how is this going to accelerate, or climate change issue, or whatever it is, and have people discuss that, the ramifications of it, and so forth. I mentioned dialogues already. A role play. So we might do a role play. You might say, here's my role, I'll be an actor in a movie, or my role might be a magician. I might be this magician who has this magic wand. Or my role might be preservation of fish. Whatever your role is, you do a role play online. One person might be the question asker. One person might be the summarizer. One person might be the starter for discussion. One person might be the debater, the protester. One person might be the optimist. Another might be the pessimist. Give students different roles that they play online so that they can have more engaging conversations, if you will. And so I've invented different roles, personality roles that my students sign up to be, or researcher, they might sign up to be Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa or a famous person in history, Einstein, Albert Einstein, whatever. So we do role play on the internet.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
So, prefer diagrams, flow charts, timelines, pictures, films, and so forth. So that's part 3 of the R2. Remember the R2D2 model, read, reflect, display, and do. So part 3, as we get on the screen there, is displaying. R2D2, read and reflect, R, display and do, D. 2 Ds, 2 Rs for the model. Very simple. You're dividing the web up into 4 things that you can do. You can either read stuff, reflect and write on it, visualize it, have a chart, a picture, or do something with it, right? Read, reflect, display it, and do it. And so it makes it a little easier to understand the possibilities of the internet. Makes it a little easier to understand the possibilities of what you can do online. And so there are a lot of images on the internet, and there's a website called Creative Commons. Creative Commons lets people put information up for free and no copyright or limited copyright. They decide the copyright or copyleft, as they call it, that they want on that object. So if someone has medical slides or images, graphics, medical graphics, you might be able to go to Creative Commons and find those pictures that you can use in your lecture for free. There are entire books at Creative Commons. I've put this book up for free on the internet too. People are putting up tons of free resources, and we have to think about creative ways to use those creative resources. And so images, as we know, pictures was worth more than 1,000 words, or the picture that launched 1,000 ships. Seeing something, visualizing it, is engaging for some learners. I'm a visual learner. Many of you are too. I realize that, and that's why part 3 is so important, you see. Now, part 2, reflect, is the part that I wasn't doing a good job with. And so I would say reflect, and some people say debrief, is the most important of the 4 parts. Read, reflect, display, and do. Reflect, reflect, reflect. Reflect's where you're going to learn the most content. You're going to embellish it, elaborate on it, articulate what you know, explain what you know. Those things are powerful for learning. When you explain, when you elaborate, you rewire your brain somehow. Those nodes get reorganized. So number 2 is extremely important. It's my criticism of myself, of my teaching. I wasn't doing a good job with part 2. Part 3, this is something I resonate with, seeing things, images, right? Seeing the images, having a short video in the BBC, from the BBC, from CNN, from TED Talk, from SchoolTube, MedTube, whatever. There are lots of shared online video portals today. I have found 72 of them, something like that. They're off of my homepage. If you want to find them all, go to my homepage, look at resources, click on resources. You will find a list of shared online video sites, okay? And use them. Use them. And what they do, they anchor the learning. If you show a short video clip and then come back and attack it, address it, show that video, and then have questions wrapped around it. Then show that video again and say, did you catch this the first time? So a short 1-minute video, a short 2-minute video, or 10-minute video is reusable, replayable. It forms a macro context to anchor the instruction because everyone has watched it. And now you can pose questions around it. You can pull out snippets from it. Go to tubechop.com. You can chop up YouTube videos into small pieces. So I can show positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement in my psychology classes. I can show shaping of getting fish, whales, and dolphins to do different things at an aquarium by shaping their behavior in a different way. So video is a powerful tool to anchor all of our learning, to have something in our memory that we can come back to and think about. Animations as well. So Stanford has an animation on COVID prevention. It's short, it's to the point, it's very educational. There are a ton of these free animations that we can embed in our classes to have a tour of the human body and see it in a virtual reality way. This one, you don't have to wear the virtual reality headsets to watch this video because someone did it for you. Also, in terms of reflection, I missed this one earlier, but reflection, it's out of order, is to have people annotate discussions using a 2-column. So using Google Documents, put 2 columns up there, the original text, and then the team or the student annotating and commenting on that, those keywords or that phrase or those sentences. It's a way of discussing the content of the class, the week. You can also do some annotations of a discussion using a group reading tool called Perusal. Perusal is a free tool that lets teams collaborate and discuss a book or a paper or an article or whatever. And so there's an example that shows you how to use Perusal. And I apologize, a couple of these slides on reflection, a little bit out of order. I didn't realize that, but maybe it's good to have it this way too. So, so yeah, it's a way to get people engaged in the content. Another tool out there for displaying, going back to part 3, is called Video Ant. Video Ant was developed by the University of Minnesota to annotate video and comment on videos. So it's a free tool that they have, and you might want to just download it and play around with it. Another free tool is called Edpuzzle, which lets you do some of the same kinds of things, I guess. And so instead of just watching the video, Video Ant lets you have a set of comments on it. Another thing that's recent phenomenon is when people create a visual, a sketch, a drawing of a talk. There is now a specialty that is for creating people who design, who are artists, who craft a graphic, an artwork of a person's talk. So my friend Paul Kim, you can see him on the side with the glasses in the middle by the yellow. He gave a speech to us about a couple months back in May, so 6 months back, I guess, about his Smile project, which I mentioned in the second video. And then Manu Pillai is a freelance designer. She drew his talk. I've given talks in different countries, like in the Saudi Arabia, where they draw my talk as I present. It's very powerful to see the drawing of a talk. There's another tool that's powerful called the World Mapper tool. The World Mapper tool is pretty cool because it will show you data on a map. So if we're looking at COVID in the early days, You see on the left there, China's blown up real large because COVID was in China. But today, COVID's more apparent in North America. We've got a problem here, and in Europe, right? And not so much in South America. Well, now today, maybe more so. So the World Mapper tool lets you display data in a visual map. It could be, we look at pollution. We could look at public school spending. We could look at literacy rates of children. We could look at cancer deaths, pancreatic cancer deaths by country. The World Mapper tool lets you do all that. It's an animation of data. It's pretty cool, and it is free. And there are also tools that help you look at migration patterns of whether it's butterflies or birds or something else. It's called Migrations in Motion, maps showing them. Pretty cool tool to get kids excited about science. All these ideas are related to what? To get kids excited about learning, to get the teachers excited about learning too, to get ways to more powerfully learn the content so it's accessible later. It's available and accessible later. So tools from Lucid, called Lucid for Education, have little mini tools for concept mapping and comparison and contrast and Venn diagrams and other things. Some of these are free, some are not, but I mention it since I'm helping some people there. Use the free ones. You know, if you want to look at COVID deaths by country, or look at deaths in terms of causes, there are animations that can show the impact of COVID, the impact of different kind of drugs over time. And this is pretty illuminating when we look at COVID's impact in 2020. As I said, there are tools to chop up videos into short snippets so you can show particular principles or concepts. You can use TubeChop to do that if it's a YouTube video. There are tools, as I mentioned earlier, in the second part, I mentioned concept mapping tools like Bubble.us I showed last in the second episode. Well, there are also tools called spicy nodes, where if you click on one node, pops up another node. If you click on that node, another node. It's all spicy little nodes. But there are tools out there like Glyphy and SAMAP and MindDomo that let you do that too. Concept mapping and timelines are ways to let you visualize information on a graphic or on in a timeline. So it's pretty cool to see those kinds of things. So you might want to take a look at that. Learning happens when you force people to summarize in a small space. Again, learning happens when you force them to summarize in a small space, like an abstract, like a timeline, like a taxonomy, or a concept map, or a mind map. Ways to visualize that learning are empowering for all learners. And so we have these spicy nodes. We have these concept maps that get us excited. We visualize words. My student last semester, he said, I'm going to create a mind map or a concept map related to this discussion. All right. And he did. And so there it is. It's a way to visualize week 4 discussion in my class. What were the top 20 words used? Blended learning, online learning, thinking, discussing, students. And so we saw what the main focus was. What was the following week? What was the focus? Satisfaction, engagement, education. Here's another mind mapping tool. Using these word clouds. If you go to these free word clouds, WordSift, Tuxedo, Word It Out, you can plop in a student paper and see which words they use the most. You can plop in your syllabus or a paper that you're writing and see which words you use the most. My students thought they were funny when they did a word cloud on my syllabus after they got their grades. And they said, Dr. Bonk, you use the word learning too much. They were just being a little funny. But anyways, word clouds are powerful because you can see words. It's both the text and the visual, the juxtaposition, what we call dual coding theory. If you can code things verbally and visually, you're more likely to remember it. That's why a video with an explanation is powerful for learning. Here's another word cloud in a different way. My students got really excited. They did all these word clouds. Okay, that's great. Do another word cloud. Here's another one. Okay, well, MOOCs and students and courses and learners and commitment and articles and quality and opportunity, employees, word clouds, word cloud, discussion, think, students.
Make it so.
Part 4, last part of part 3 is kinesthetic learners, tactile learners, people who learn from role play. Again, you have our take on different roles or whatever. You're not going to be a fish, maybe take on another role, but you put on your funky glasses and you take on a role. I'll be, James Bond instead of Curt Bonk, Curt Bond. And, in this role, but usually I am the comic for whatever reason. And what's the other role that I like? There's another one called the critic, being the devil's advocate, we call it sometimes. But the question asker, I like to be the question asker. The sage, we have the sage, the guru or the wise person. So do some role play, do some drama, some games, some movement, get people to move around a little bit, right?
All stations, prepare for reconnection.
So you might have them, part 4 is tactile. So trying it out, do a case online and analyze a case situation. Putting student work up on the web, a gallery of best practices or best work is a way to excite the present students and future students and past students, because it becomes a community. They can go to the gallery, they can go to the samples of Dr. Bonk's class and say, I put that one up there. That's my example, right? This is cool because you have many, many ideas that are shared over time. I've taught a course for 30 years. I've got examples from 30 years ago and what they taught. Now I was 8 years old then, but anyhow, and the students are excited because they still see their work in my class 30 years later. Wow, you still got that in the gallery, on the web for the world to learn from. My students do podcast shows. They do webcast shows. They do demonstration videos. How to use, in this case, how to use a maker lab, like 3D printing maker lab she had done. So having students create videos, demonstration videos, having students summarize their learning in a video, summarize their learning in a 10-minute video or 7-minute video is more powerful than writing a paper, taking an exam, the same old kind of thing. This forces them to think and design and evaluate. So my students are doing YouTube videos to summarize their learning. They're writing books to summarize their learning in my class, okay? They have a course, they have a cause, what called Courses for a Cause. My friends in the Bahamas, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Iran and Colombia worked together on Courses for a Cause, where they had kids clean the environment in the Bahamas, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Iran, Colombia, in China, and other parts of the world. They're working on this together. If you're interested in reading about this, it's summarized in my most recent book called MOOCs and Open Education in the Global South. I will send you a chapter if you would send me an email request. And look at how excited, kids are excited about inquiry learning in the real world. And so my colleagues, Dr. Kyle John in the red, Dr. Tom Reeves in the black and red, and Tom Reynolds from National University in white, Tom Reeves from Georgia, Kyle John from Wayne State, Mimi Lee from the University of Houston, have worked together on a couple of MOOCs books, 3 of them actually, and have recorded how people are, the creative projects that they're doing via the MOOC, massive open online classes. You can have your students sit in on, get a certificate of completion from taking one of these, learn English to get ready for college, which is what they're doing in Nepal. So we've been working on projects for over 5 years in these separate book projects. I don't know if we'll do another one. Probably not. 3 is enough. But my point is, there are a lot of unique things that are possible from the free content in these massive open online courses. These courses are up with in almost every discipline. You can search Class Central or search the MOOCs list and find them and let your students have access to them and evaluate them, critique them, take them, whatever. Open your class up to the world. Open the possibilities up to the world. Again, in my World is Open book in 2009, this came out in 2011. I'm trying to work on a follow-up called The World is Wide Open. Well, who knows? But I want to thank my colleagues, Mimi, Tom, and Tom for their work with me on that. I want you to ask yourself a question. What are you most concerned about? What is your issue you're facing? Is it engagement? Is it access? Is it personalization? Is it something else? How can you address that issue? I want you to ask yourself, how can I use some of the ideas from this talk, part 3, as well as part 2, or even part 1 in my classes in Botswana or whatever country that you're in? Maybe some other people will watch this video later. Now, how many ideas did you get? Well, you might say, I got 5 or 6 or 7. Write them down. Write them down. I've got in my pocket are notes. I'm writing down every day tons of things. I'm writing down ideas. I got so many. I got Dalai Lama quotes in my pockets and other famous quotes from other people, whether it's Einstein or wherever. You know, I've got my planner. I got things in my pocket where I'm writing down all the time. Get commitment. Get committed to something. Do something. Have a goal, but don't do too many things. Try 1 or 2 things out a semester. Which idea did you like better, Tech Variety or R2D2? Well, some people, I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Maybe Christiana can poll you. Which idea is easier? This is simpler, 4 things. This is 10 things. This is free though. So some people might say the Tech Variety or R2D. Some say neither. Okay, you say neither. Some say both. Okay, both. Maybe create a unique combination of the 2 together for your own personal method. Well, that's great if you try and do that. Okay, so did you get many ideas? If you did, write them down. Are you excited? Are you excited? Maybe, hopefully, or is your brain dead after 3 parts? Maybe your brain's dead. Does this stuff give you a headache? All this stuff gives you, maybe it does. Maybe do we want to go another hour? Do we want to go another day? Maybe, maybe not. Would you attend a follow-up session? Maybe, probably, definitely, no. Are you more confident as an online instructor? I'm curious on this one in particular. Do you feel more confident teaching online? Or are you just fishing for fish out there, you know? Do you have the magic wand in front of you for doing interesting things in your classroom today? Hopefully, you will engage your students. They'll be interactive and engaging in your classes. The world is open for all of you now. So again, hold up your arms like this. I'll get your picture and we'll take it. Hold up your arms. Thank you very much. The world is open for you in Bangkok and in Singapore and in all over the world. As I mentioned, this is China. So we're at a jumping off point. So I need everybody to jump with me on the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3, jump. 1, 2, 3, jump. 1, 2, 3, jump. All the women, 1, 2, 3, jump. All the men, 1, 2, 3, jump. Okay. Okay, everybody jumped enough? Everyone got the blood going? Things are heating up. They're heating up. My This is my precious free book that all of you can use now.
So bright, so beautiful, precious.
Education 2020 and the learning revolution is coming within reach for all of you. but I cannot do this alone. I need your help. Please help me. On the count of 3, all of you say, I cannot do this alone. 1, 2, 3.
I cannot do this alone.
1, 2, 3.
I cannot do this alone.
1, 2.
I cannot do this alone.
Oh, be quiet. 1, 2, 3. I
cannot do this alone.
Okay, so we got our 2020 vision lenses on. We're seeing ahead to the future. You can take a look at my slides at trainingshare.com, my free papers at Publication Share. You can write me an email. You can try things out, but we're heading into the future.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Try R2D2. I will stop the sharing here, but write down trainingshare.com for the slides, publicationshare.com, and Tech Variety. So hopefully after 3 videos, or maybe after only 1, hopefully some of you got a few things that you can use. Again, I don't recommend using all of them right away. Try a couple of them, okay? Try 1 or 2 things out. If you try 1 or 2 things, then you can springboard into something more challenging. Get the quick hits that work. Try something simple that works. And then you can move beyond the simple once you've found those things that are engaging and interactive and collaborative, and you feel passionate about using in your classes. As you do, as you proceed, send me a note and let me know what is working. Send me, I do respond, usually within a couple hours. And maybe someday I'll be in Botswana or wherever you are in the world watching this a couple of years from now. I'd love to say hi, whether it's virtually or face-to-face. So I wish all of you well in your teaching and learning journeys. And I hope that this inspires you to train others. So also in this book, there's a chapter on dealing with resistant and reluctant teachers, chapter 14. You can take the ideas and train others so it springboards them to action as well. So that's one way to think about utilizing this and the ideas from this is it's not just your class that you're going to impact, it's how many others you have a chance to impact by modeling, by sharing, and by demonstrating to additional teachers within your school and maybe beyond your school to other schools. And this can then springboard to others. Start small and then utilize those small successes with sharing and even with parents to the greater community within your city or your region. And we can have a whole bunch of tech variety happening around the world. So good luck. And again, thanks for inviting me in here. I wish you the best of successes. And I'm sorry we couldn't do this live. We had to record this. My sincere apologies. We did try, Christiana, that you and I did try. Hopefully this works and let me know. Good luck. We're going to the cloud.